Aloha kakayaka Hawaii. This is Pokalai Nui, and you are listening to Hawaiian Potpourri on radio station KWAI 1080 on your AM dial. Today is the 30th day of September in the year 2012, and the time now is 8 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock. Welcome to the program. If this is the first time you're listening to this program, this is a call-in show, and the telephone number here is 524-1080. If you'd like to share an opinion relevant to the topic of the morning, then you are welcome to call, and we'll put you on the radio and discuss with you your opinion and the general topic itself. I have announced previously that I would be putting on my website a paper, and the paper is entitled Envisioning Hawaii for the Future. What should Hawaii look like? Last night I had Leon Siu talking about what's happening in the international arena as he continually attends the United Nations work there, as it deals with not only indigenous people's rights, but especially as he looks at the right to self-determination of all peoples. And when he says all peoples, he includes the people of Hawaii, the right to be, in essence, an independent nation should we choose to be so. And so in developing that independence for the Hawaiian nation as we look into the future, what would a society look like? Would it differ from the current society? And if it would not differ from the current society, is it really worth the effort to become an independent nation and simply mimic the ways and the attitudes of the United States in miniature United States of Hawaii or something like that? Or should we be looking at a society that is more in keeping with what we believe is a higher level of human spiritual development, social development, economic development, etc.? And if so, what are those values and where do we want to go? In the paper Envisioning a Hawaii for the Future, what we try to do is ask ourselves those questions and put some value to what we are talking about, to be somewhat specific, to give some details to the general drawing of, yes, we want a more peaceful society, we want a more just society. But what does all of that mean? And so what we do is we begin with the structure of first establishing what is the deep culture that we deal with, how we deal with one another, how we deal with our environment, how we deal with economics and that kinds of stuff at a very human and a very humane level. And so we talk about the idea of the deep culture of domination, individualism, and exclusion, which seems to be running rampant within the American political life, social life, economic life, military life, as opposed to the more softer approach of olu olu, lokahi, and aloha, of caring, of sharing, of this gentle kindliness within the society. I was at a meeting this past Thursday, or was it Friday? It was Friday, and this was a meeting in which we take a look at how are we treating the mentally ill. It's a particular advocacy group to protect the rights of the mentally ill. At that time, a woman said that one of her pet peeves was when people park in handicapped spaces, although they do not have a handicap permit, which would indicate that they or their passengers are not handicapped, at least to her. And she said that she gets so angry at times that she would like to take some action by perhaps putting up a sticker on the person's car, berating that person. Don't you realize, you fool, that you have taken up someone else's space who really needs this parking space, and as a result prevented someone from going shopping? And I suggested that while a sticker may be appropriate, we cannot prejudge someone, although we can make some assumptions, but we need to be very careful. And so we could probably achieve the same result by changing the language of such a notice. And that language would probably say, aloha, could you please consider the next time you park here that it may be depriving someone who really needs a space from shopping. You achieve the same result without destroying another person's day, and you don't know what his or her reaction may be to children in the car or to others, or becoming or creating such an upset within that person so that when they drive away they carry this anger with them, and so the anger doesn't really stop. If you take the second attitude of being more gentle and yet reaching your point in the same way, then at least the person will say, yes, I will consider it. And in this case, I stopped here because I needed help in walking or whatever it is. Or next time I should consider this and not take up the space. But it would be a more considerate and probably more effective notice given. So that change in the general society itself, whether we're dealing with people taking up parking spaces that they should not be taking up, or we're dealing with the economy for the country, or how we deal with the environment, the deep culture in which we work these things become very important. It soaks into issues of health, issues of housing, issues of education, etc. So as we deal with the deep culture, one of the areas that we talk with regard specifically to is the need to promote peace and preventing violence in our society. So that's one of the principles of this paper. And we say here there are daily reports in the mass media of the pain and misery many people in Hawaii experience as a result of being subjected to various forms of violence in our society. From cyberbullying to economic violence resulting in increasing levels of poverty and homelessness in Hawaii, to physical and spiritual pain resulting from environmental violence caused by the increasing toxification of the environment, to more frequent occurrence of gun violence, to epidemic levels of domestic violence, to rising incidents of psychological, emotional, physical, sexual violence against women, children, and gay and lesbian persons in our society, to the continuing military occupation of Hawaii and the rising militarization of our society, to the increasing addiction to violent programming on television, represent many of the ways that violence has become a normal state of being in our society. I especially wanted to share that comment or that principle with you and say that the paper is on my website. That website is at www.hawaiianperspectives.org. And if you went to the website, you would see that, as I think it's the second document on the website. It's very easy to see once you get to the home page. The reason I wanted to start off this program with that paper and that particular issue of violence is that if you went to this today's newspaper, this is the Sunday Star Advertiser for September the 30th, you will see in the front page a discussion of this example of violence. Let's see if I can get to that front page section and immediately point out to you where that is at. But it's that air show that has been going on in Hawaii, and it's with what is it called? The Blue Angels or something? Gee, I'm sorry, I can't find it right now. But it's this air show, enthusiasm felt by the performers at the air show, and then you have a child who is shown with an automatic machine gun on what is that, mounted on a military vehicle, and the child is shown firing the automatic machine gun, or at least pretending to fire the automatic machine gun. Then you have other examples of violence by the airplanes and all that kinds of stuff. And this is part of this violence that is inherent within the society. And yet people are talking about cyberbullying. People are talking about bullying in schools. People are talking about how do we stop the violence from occurring within the society, and yet we are so heavily militarized that at different times the newspapers will come out and glorify the militarization. What it really talks about is it's okay to glorify it if we have the superpower, we have the equipment, we have the capacity to overpower, to dominate our opponent, then it's okay. But from looking at it from the side of the victim, and when we experience that victimhood, then it's supposedly something else, and we should speak up against such violence. I'm saying what we need to do is we need to be very consistent with how we deal with violence. We shouldn't be allowing this kind of events to occur, where these military shows come in and sweep away sensibility as they play with this issue of violence in our community. Okay, that's my first comment. If you would like to respond to that, you're welcome to respond on the radio by calling me at 524-1080, and we'll put you on and have a discussion on that matter. Or you could write to me on my email address is at plaenui, PLAENUI, at hawaiianperspectives.org. And we can converse. You can look through the whole paper dealing with envisioning a future for Hawaii. The paper deals with other issues. It also deals with the subject of Hawaiian sovereignty, self-determination for Native Hawaiians as well as Hawaiian nationals. We deal with another principle, constructing an education system that is appropriate for the 21st century, an education system that is founded on the principles of OLA, that's Olu, Lokahi, and Aloha, a far more cooperative, participatory educational system. It deals with creating broad-based agricultural projects that are aimed at increasing the food sustainability and independence of Hawaii. And let's see, developing an alternative energy independent society in Hawaii. Sixth principle, promoting healthy human development, implementing mind, body, spirit models of healthcare. And I will be doing a series of these discussions on mind, body, spirit, concept of healthcare, and that will be on OLA television, or at least we're scheduled for that. So we'll see how all of that turns out. Okay, we just had a caller calling in and dropped the line. So if you do call in again, I'll pick up the line and we'll get into further discussion on this thing about envisioning Hawaii for the future. Leon Siu visited me yesterday evening, and in his discussion, and many of you may have heard that program, which went from 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock, he related what is happening in the international arena with regards to Hawaii and how the movement is proceeding along with informing members of the international arena about what has occurred here in Hawaii. As he spoke about the changes occurring in the international arena, people are becoming more aware of Hawaiian rights to self-determination. I'm finding that it sort of tracks to a certain extent what has been occurring and what is now occurring in Hawaii. I had been involved both in the international arena as well as in the local arena as an advocate for Hawaiian independence. I think more important than Hawaiian independence, as an advocate for at least the right of the people of Hawaii to self-determination, the right of those who had not been accorded their self-determination through the interference of the United States of America, creating a conspiracy within Hawaii, working with a puppet government, and then stealing Hawaii for the United States from the Hawaiian nationals. In 1977, 76, 77, when the issue was raised before the courts in Hawaii, many people in Hawaii had no clue about what was being discussed. And oftentimes when you have no clue, you are not aware of what is going on, you feel uncomfortable with a particular subject unless you have a particular interest or some other interest. But when you are familiar with the subject, then you can get more easily into the subject and you pay more attention. So at that time, there was very few attention being paid because of the issue of Hawaiian sovereignty, because people did not really understand it. But they understood the controversy with regards to the cultural perspective of the native Hawaiians and the need to respect that perspective, especially as it dealt with the the issue of farming and the importance of farming raised when Bishop Estate wanted to kick farmers out of a particular valley. What was that valley? Kahana Valley, and send these pig farmers off into other areas because they wanted to develop that valley. And so there was an uproar over that particular issue. Following that, there was an uproar over the idea of the military bombing the island of Kaho'olawe without the appropriate respect for the religious integrity of the native Hawaiian people. So a lot of the movements were in terms of respect for the native Hawaiians, the integrity of people who are, quote, minorities in Hawaii, although we are all minorities in Hawaii. And then you had the development at the University of Hawaii for ethnic studies and elevating the provision of ethnic studies or that department to a full department with enough funding so that it would be taken seriously. And so at that time, you had many Filipinos, Japanese, Chinese, and others gathering together as locals, asserting the right of our ethnicities to be presented in a more appropriate manner. You had the closing of Chinatown, or some of the what was called Chinatown evictions and protests in that area. So you had a lot of movement, but not the movement with regards to the right to self-determination. So when we brought that issue, and that issue was brought in the Pulava case in 1977 by challenging the jurisdiction of the United States courts and raising the issue of the right of the United States to be governing Hawaii. There was not much interest in that specific movement, although there was a gathering interest with regards to minority rights, ethnic rights, Native Hawaiian rights. So when we dealt with not necessarily only Native Hawaiians, but principally, or the focus was on Native Hawaiians, but in terms of a political right, so that you talked about the right of self-determination to the extent of governance, not only the right to live your own life as you would like within your own ethnic circles, but to have the right to govern Hawaii separate from the United States, there was resistance, there was uncertainty, there was confusion, and over a period of time, as those issues continually brought forward. And I must say that it was brought forward not necessarily through the initiation of the Hawaiians or the native Hawaiians, but it was through the opportunities raised by the state government and the city government by attacking those people who were homeless. They were at that time not called the homeless, but they were known as a beach people. And so you had evictions in Waimanalo, you had evictions along the whole Waianae coast, you had evictions initially in Makua, where Hurricane Eva was the first movement to toss the people out, and then as the people came back to try to establish their tents and live again in their only place that they had, then you had the State Department of Land and Natural Resources come in and begin to evict them using their bulldogs, using their bulldozers, and otherwise bullying people to get off of these lands that no one else was using anyway. So we started with a response. So it was not only the Napipulava case, my particular case when I refused to sign these jury selection forms on the grounds that it was for American citizens, not for a Hawaiian national to sit on an American jury, and had my license threatened by Sam King to have it withdrawn because I was taking that position and would not sign a jury selection form. And then there were other cases, the Sand Island eviction, which brings about yet another land eviction that was brought forward, and we challenged on the grounds of lack of jurisdiction, halemohalu, and on and on. As we moved in the Hawaii scenario, then people started becoming more familiar with the arguments, and from then you had more and more people going through the universities, reading the newspapers, listening to lectures, paying more attention, and then you reach the position of discernment. They were able to see, now I see what they're talking about. So you had stages. The first stage was attention getting. The second stage was confusion. The third stage was familiarity. And out of familiarity, then you came to discernment. And when people began to discern what were the issues and what were the standards by which the issues should be reviewed, and so you come to the very large support for sovereignty, at least for the question of having the Hawaiian nationals and those who would constitute the Hawaiian nationals the right to choose for themselves how they want to unfold in their future, the right of self-determination. I advocate a specific choice, but more important than my specific choice is at least the presentation of that question to our people. And with the presentation given last night by Leon Seal, his report coming back merely shows that in the international arena, those people who are hearing these stories over and over and over again is developing that stage of discernment and understanding what the legal standards are and what the appropriate application of those standards to the facts of Hawaii's overthrow and current occupation and colonization of these lands. Okay, I know it's a lot to swallow, but it's there, and it's your opportunity to also join in the discernment.
Nanapua o Hawaii Pupa ama hope o ka aina Iki mai ka elele o ka loko ino Pala pala anunu me ka paka Mane mai Hawaii moku o ke ave Koku ana lava